Thanks for joining me. Today I'd like to introduce you to a couple of new additions we've got to the range of our sleeve valve. You'll all be familiar with our standard sleeve valve. You'll remember it has a 3/4 inlet, or alternatively if you undo this adapter here, it'll provide you with a 1-inch inlet. We have that in the standard lever in this version here, and as you'll be familiar, also the short lever version. What we're doing now though, we're adding a long parallel tail. Why is that? We've had a number of farmers and dealers say to us, we really would like to have a sleeve valve that fits better into a poly trough. So what we've done is taken that same adapter style, but instead of having a short tapered thread on the back, we've introduced this long parallel thread here. The great thing about that is it goes through the wall of the trough. With the back nut and seal, we do it up, and it gives us a great way of fitting. Available in a 1-inch version here, as you can see, and also available in a 3/4 inch version. So I'm going to install one of these today and just show you how simple it is to do that. You'll see here we've actually removed the valve within this chamber of this poly trough, and in this case we have a 1-inch hole through here. It's simply a question of remembering to keep the washer on the inside. That's our recommendation. Simply fitting it through the wall of the trough like that. I'll just get that one out of the way, and then taking the back nut and just simply fitting that on like that. Before doing it up entirely tightly, just to make sure that the body here is actually firm up against that adapter, which in this case it is. So we get that in the right position like that. Just a question of doing the nut up firmly by hand and just holding it to make sure we do get it in that vertical alignment. And then just a question of popping down, and I'll just do up that back nut. So just nip up that back nut. You can see that is now fully installed. What we then want to do is to fit a float. We've got a couple of choices here with regards to floats. Our standard recommendation is our 6-inch float, and I have one here. This is our standard float. You'll be familiar with the shape, this slightly squarish shape. What we've done though, we acknowledge that in some poly troughs, these chambers can be quite small. So another thing we're doing is introducing a new float, and there it is there. It looks a bit like one of those bombs from an Acme bomb from one of those Roadrunner movies. The reason we've gone for round as opposed to that squarish shape, we find a number of the chambers can be round at the end, so we've chosen to make this shape to ensure that it actually fits. It's the same standard fitting procedures we normally use, just a question of screwing that on. If we're lucky, I'll get that started, and try not to cross thread it. There we go. And with these I recommend just do them by hand tight. You don't need to do any more than that. But the critical thing is, having done them up firmly like that, there is a back nut on there, and what we just want to do is just to nip up that back nut like that so it doesn't move. The next thing we need to do is look at how we adjust this for water level. This is a slightly unusual trough in the fact that we don't have a lot of movement there, so instead of bending the arm down, which we would normally do, it looks like I'm going to have to bend the arm slightly upwards. As always, we recommend you actually remove the arm from the body so we don't damage the body. Now that may take a couple of trials to have a go, but we'll bend it, refit it, confirm our water level's good, and if it needs some more adjustment, we can go and do that. So what I'm going to do is wander off, and I'll just go and do that adjustment. In terms of removing it though, to do that adjustment, you'll recall we just simply have here an R pin and the actual pin itself. Just a question of removing those. Attempt trying to drop them in the water, remove the lever, we can take that off, bend that, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, you can see here I've actually bent the lever. Now normally the lever would go in a downwards direction like that, but we don't have a lot of room in this chamber, so we've bent it and I'm going to put it in a slightly upwards position in this case. Simply a question of slotting it back in like that, taking our pin. I'm just going to get that pin located in there like that, push it all the way through. And then taking the R pin here, we recommend pushing it all the way through for security. So you'll notice there's a little hole there. Question of pushing it through once and then pushing it all the way through. Now just confirm, I've got a lot more movement there than I had previously, which is great. Looks like the water level's going to be around here, typically about half a float. So it looks like we're up around here. So that looks pretty good. So the thing now is to turn the valve back on, just confirm that we've actually get that water level we want. And if not, we can just do a little bit of readjustment in a moment. Okay, I've replumbed the water, and I'm just going to turn it on and make sure everything's working accordingly. Just a moment. There we are. And just to check before we, just to make sure that appears to be working really, really well. So we'll let the trough fill up. We'll recheck it, make sure we get the water levels right, and then this valve should be good to go for many, many years.